Good evening, friends. Monday. Hope it is Monday today. It is, right? Yeah, it should be Monday today. Unless I'm completely off with the timing. Hope everyone had a good weekend. And, oh wait, is it working? Yes, it is working. Wow, that's a long delay. I think that's half a minute or at least 25 seconds after I pressed the button until it changed. So let's see how that works. That will be interesting for the conversations. But anyway, hey JVB, good to see you. Nice to have Monday again. I like. It's so interesting in the beginning when I did this. Some of the times I'd be like, okay, I need to sit down and I need to be prepared. And I was kind of like, oh, I'm just walking around, enjoying myself. Like, oh, it's time to go sit. And it's like, it's a group meditation and everyone's just waiting there. So it's fun. I'm really happy that I need a timer. Did I forget my telephone? I'm sorry if I seem confused. I am not. I'm just really relaxed. But it seems that I can manage without, I think. If this turns out to be a 40-minute session, then yeah, it'll be a 40-minute session. Hey, Catherine. You'll have to stop me. I don't know if you can pling on the chat or something, but I'll try to keep track of the time. Sometimes it's really difficult because time just passes so differently when you sit. Sometimes it feels like you're sitting for ages and it just never stops. And it's like, oh my goodness, when is this torture going to end? And then other times you sit and it's like, oh, that was an hour. That was strange. So it's just really different from time to time how it feels. But hopefully today it will be, hopefully it'll be, I mean, just feel, it's nice when meditation feels nice. It doesn't have to feel nice. Of course, I've talked about this quite a lot. We don't meditate just to get a nice experience. We meditate because we want to see more how we're interacting with the world and then use that for something that's more beneficial than just temporary relaxation, which, I mean, that there's nothing wrong with that, and that's actually very nice, but there is much more that can be gained from sitting. It's funny, I'm actually doing my next script for a video, and it'll be about going back to work anxiety, because I saw someone who did a video on that, and I thought, oh, that's an interesting subject. And I started writing in, and the problem I have is that pretty much any subject I do is the same subject. It will always be the same, because I'm very... I just have one perspective. No, not one perspective. I have one angle that I'm working everything, which is the distortion. It doesn't really matter if you have distortion towards going back to work, or towards not being successful, or towards meeting a partner, or towards your friends, or towards what happened when you were younger. It's all just distortion. We just tend to put different values in, like, oh, this is really important, so we need to really feel bad about this, and this is not so important, so I don't need to feel bad about this. And by using the term distortion and not identifying with it, but instead just seeing it like, oh, wait a minute, this is actually something that's distorting my perception of reality. Hey, Stephen. It's distorting how clearly I can view reality. And when I look at that distortion directly, I can see reality clearer. And that doesn't mean you see angels and spirits. It just means that you see everything without this sense of distortion towards it. You actually see it clearly for what it is. So that, like, I usually use this sofa. This is a beautiful sofa made out of wool. And instead of having the feel like, oh, this is an expensive sofa, which could make me feel either more value towards it, it could make me feel that, oh, I have to be careful because I'm drinking tea. What if I do this? Like, if I would put this, there could be a sense of like I could actually spill this now and stain this sofa, which could be a distortion because I have something here. But I can also, it doesn't mean I'm dumb and just think, oh, I'm just going to spill everything on it. It means that I don't feel the distortion towards something bad happening. So it's kind of the same when it comes to going back to work, meaning that, I mean, I have 2 weeks left of vacation, and I know that I'll be going back to work after 2 weeks. That could be a anxiety-causing event, I mean, it isn't for me, but it could be for some people, like, oh, I'm going back to work. It could also be the other way around, that it's actually something like, oh my goodness, I have a work to go back to, and you feel gratitude towards it. There's like many different ways you can view this, whereas my approach is to not say feel bad about it or appreciate it. We're just seeing it as it is. You're going back to work. That's just what's going to happen. And if that work happens to be something that you don't enjoy doing, and you go there and it feels completely pointless, it just doesn't bring you anything, then if you can look at that and get rid of the distortion and see like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, well, that's not really what I want to do with my life, then you can change work, but I mean jobs, but you don't have to do it through throwing a tantrum or a fit or getting angry or causing a situation. Instead, you can just say, oh, you know what, we don't match anymore, so I can move on. Or you realize, hey, you know what, I thought I didn't like my job, but actually it's quite nice here. I enjoy going there. I enjoy the routine. I enjoy the stability. I like my colleagues, and I like the working place, and there's really good benefits. And like, yeah, actually it's pretty good. But maybe you went around just feeling bad about it the whole time, instead of actually looking at it, seeing it as it is without distortion, and then making a decision. So yeah, everything comes back to that same thing. Stephen is saying basically life is about transcending distortions. Let me think. Transcending, if anything, that is a good. Well, life is not about that. It's, I mean, if you want to do what we're talking about here, then yes. But and it's not really transcending the distortions. It's more feeling them fully and realizing there's nothing there. It's kind of yeah. So it would be like this. If you would say transcending, say there's a mist. There's like mist in front of you, and somehow the mist is just like looks solid. You know, sometimes mist can really look like a cloud. A cloud can have a wall. It's like here's cloud and there's not cloud. It looks like a wall. And from a distance, you look like, oh my goodness, that's a solid object. It's this fluffy thing here, and that's a solid thing. If you want to transcend it, that means you go above it and you look down at it like, okay, I'm no longer touching. No, that's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is go up to the cloud, touch the cloud, and say like, hey, wait a minute. I can actually move my hand through this apparent absolute border of this fluffy thing, but I can move my hand through it. So it's not actually the way I thought it was. And then you go into the cloud and you feel the cloud. Like, oh, actually, it's just cloud. There's like nothing here. You can move around inside the cloud also. So it's not about, but in that analogy, then the cloud would disappear when you moved into it and felt it. And in reality, I guess they don't. But it kind of worked. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. So the point is, we're not trying to avoid it. We're not trying to feel, oh my goodness, I'm a bad person because I'm experiencing distortion. If anything, is that you should allow yourself to feel this, because the anxiety towards going to work makes you go, oh, I don't want to feel, oh, this is like, oh, no, I hate it at work. I don't want to look at this. It's going to be painful. Like everything is so bad. I feel bad about going back. But instead we need to feel that. We're like, oh, it's just a sensation. It's just a distortion in my body between reality, which is I'm going back to work, and desire, I want to lie in the sofa, I mean in my garden, and sip tea and read a book while I listen to my children playing. That's what I want to do. And then reality, I'm going back. Like, neither of these are a problem. I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to lie in the garden and enjoying life. There's also nothing wrong with the reality that you are going there, because that's just going to happen. So then this is the problem. And you look at that and you feel it, and you're like, hey, wait a minute, I am creating this. It's not that I'm going to work that is creating this, or that I don't want to go to work. It's this thing here. And the interesting thing is, which most people seem to miss, is that if you let go of this, then the sense of self disappears, because the sense of self is created by this. So that's why I push so hard towards this, because I push so much, I focus so much on this, because this is really the only thing you need to do. If you do that, you'll drop the sense of self, and then you'll see the world clearly, and then life just becomes enjoyable and easy. It's like going on easy mode. It's like everything is just nice. It's just enjoyable being alive. So just like you, in this example, I said, oh, I don't want to go to work. If someone would say that, and I feel anxiety, there is a feeling inside of all of us all the time that I'm not quite okay right here. There's always something pulling me, pushing. something just, nah, I need to go somewhere. And we can find moments where there are lessons, where it's not so much. But then it comes back and we need to move somewhere. And I think when we go on vacation and we're off from our works, all of a sudden we don't have all these things pulling us everywhere. So we feel, we feel less distortion because there's less demands of places I need to be. But it could also be the other way around, because you have more distortions and more things pulling you around when you're on vacation. And if you would stop working, then you just develop new things to pull on you. Or you would just lie on the sofa and watch Netflix, which is not the same thing. That's like numbing yourself. So there's a lot of nuance towards this, and it's not as... I don't want to say it's complicated, but there's more depth to it than just, we just overcome the distortion. There's like, you can... If you really understand how this works, it's really nothing. You just work with this. You don't need to have all these theories about what happens in the past life, in the future life, what happens to my past karma, and like all of that stuff is just... I'm not saying it doesn't exist or that it isn't true. It's just, it's not relevant to here and now, because here and now, if you have past karma, well, that's included in the now. Like, then it is here. If it's not past karma, then, well, then you're still feeling whatever you're feeling now, so it doesn't matter where it comes from. So we just look at this distortion, the only thing, and we're making it impersonal by calling it distortion and not my past lifetimes pushing up some great lesson I need to learn, or my inner child coming up and wanting to take its space, and I need to, like, it just creates more sense of self. And you can actually look at this distortion directly and just let go of it and just experience reality and experience your desire for reality, and neither of these are a problem. Yeah, it's time to sit. For those of you who are new, we have a little bit of a discussion like this normally in the beginning, and then we sit for 20 minutes. After that, we have questions and answers, if there are any. We start with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is a method to bring us back to our senses, to really observe through our senses without interpreting so much. Is basically what I just said. Like, we were trying to get to that point where we see things and really, really look at them, and really hear them, really smell them. Which is why I'll say out aloud 5 things that I can see, 4 things I can feel, 3 things I can hear, 2 things I can smell, and 1 thing that I can taste. And then you say it out loud together with me. Well, obviously not the same thing I'm saying, but whatever it is that you're experiencing on your end. If you can't do it out loud, that's fine. You can just say it for yourself, like in your head. But the thing is, we want to stop an experience. It's not about doing the exercise. It's about experiencing your senses. So if you would just stop and observe the sofa, this thing here, you could just stay with that the whole time. That would be better than going through the list. And then 20 minutes guided meditation. So yeah, I'll start. We have, I can see a big foam board. I can see a thermometer. I see a printer. I can see some electrical cables. And I can see a door handle. Those are 5 things that I can see. Now 4 things I can feel. I can feel a cloth or a blanket lie on me. I can feel my skin. I can feel my beard. And I can feel like the fat on my fingers, or the moisture of my skin. After that, we do 3 things that we can hear. I can hear the air conditioner. And I can hear the sound of putting down the remote on the cables. And I can hear the wind, hear the wind outside. As we go down gradually, we have to become more and more aware, because it's more difficult to be aware of these senses. Now we say 2 things that we can smell. I can smell mint. And I can smell warm fabric or warm textile. And then one thing that we can taste. I taste mint. Yeah. So for this meditation, I want you to bring your awareness to your breath. We're not trying to control the breath in any particular way. We're just trying to be aware of breath happening. We're also not looking for necessarily a physical sensation, as in when the air hits the back of the nose, or the way it feels when the air rushes down your windpipe, or the sensations of your chest expanding and contracting. You can feel those things, but it's more a sense of an awareness of breath happening. So when you sit still and close your eyes and you focus inwards, can you feel that there is breath happening in your chest? There will usually be pressure coming from the chest, contracting and expanding. You might feel some muscles tightening and relaxing. And sometimes you do feel the actual air moving around, especially in the beginning, when your breathing is a bit faster, a bit deeper. And then as you go along, it will become more an awareness of breath happening. For the next 20 minutes, this is the only thing you need to do. I know we all have things that we've experienced during the day that might stay with us, or if it's in the morning, you'll have things that happened the day before or in your dreams, and there are things that are going to happen after this sitting where you'll need to go somewhere and need to do something, or some problems that you need to solve. The consequences might be grave if you fail to do so. But just ask yourself, is it okay? Would it be okay for you to just sit these next 20 minutes and let that be, just for now? You can start thinking about it after. But for now, ask yourself if you can allow yourself, if you can give yourself permission to do this one simple thing, to observe your breath as it's moving in and out, in and out of your body, without analyzing, without understanding, without trying to figure out or solving, becoming better or becoming worse. Instead, it's just now, breath happening, breath going in, breath going out, breath standing still. To make this a little bit easier, we'll do a technique where we count our breaths from 1 to 8, and then down again from 8 to 1. And I'll do it together with you for the first time. And then after that, you can continue by yourself. I'll do the breathing out aloud and forcibly. That's just to make it easy for you to follow along, but your actual breath should just be happening by itself. So breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. 2. Breathing in and breathing out. 3. Breathing in and breathing out. 4. Breathing in, breathing out. 5. Breathing in, breathing out. 6. Breathing in, breathing out. 7. Breathing in, breathing out. 8. Breathing in, breathing out. 7. Breathing in, breathing out. 6. Breathing in, breathing out. 5. Breathing in, and breathing out. 4. Breathing in, and breathing out. 3. Breathing in, breathing out. 2. Breathing in, breathing out. 1. Now you can continue by yourself, counting your breath from 1 to 8, and then down again from 8 to 1. As you're breathing in, breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. One of the reasons that pain, discomfort, and just general itching, mosquito bites, all kinds of uncomfortable sensations are seen as useful in meditation is because when you feel an itch near your nose or near your ear, it will be preceded by a slight distortion. It's almost like a twang or a tension that builds up between this sense of you and this itching. Right now I have on my cheek something that is itching. Maybe it's a hair straw or some dust, or could even be some small insect that is sitting there. And I can feel how my arm wants to go up and brush it away. And in the Theravadan traditions of Buddhism, it's often seen that we should not do that. We should just let it be. And I disagree with that, but what I do believe is useful is that this is a great opportunity to learn to see the distortion happening there. So if you can sit when you have a slight discomfort, there are people who sit to the point where you actually hurt yourself, and I've done that myself, but I don't recommend you do that. Instead, when you feel a slight discomfort and you feel, oh, I'm going to move, first of all, don't think that you're doing anything wrong by moving, and you should sit perfectly still. But what we're aiming for is to first be aware of the tension, of the friction, of the distortion that you feel towards whatever it is that you consider uncomfortable. Most people, when they have an itch, they don't even think about it. They just take their hand, swipe their face, and that's that. But when we're meditating, we're trying to slow that down so that we'll notice, oh, it's itching, I'm gonna swipe it away. But maybe there's just a second delay in your, maybe there's not even any delay, but you're aware of it happening, and you can stop yourself from impulsively following this itch. Because when you can do that, you'll also notice that it's the same thing when you're out walking in town and you see someone walking by dressed a certain way that you don't like, or they smell a way that you don't like, or they look a way you don't like. And you can feel yourself going the same kind of tension, the same kind of friction, and there's discomfort in you. And before you would have said, well, that's obviously because you shouldn't smell like that when you're out in public. Or you shouldn't dress like that when you're out in public. But now you can stop yourself and be aware. What does that actually feel like? And can you let go of that distortion so that you can see them just as someone walking by? And then you might think, well, actually it is nice if they take a shower. Or they could dress in clothes that look more decent, or whatever it is that you believe one should do. But we're not trying to say what's right and wrong here. We're just trying to stop your habituated response to things around you. Because you also have habituated responses to relationships, to finances, to your work, to your health, to food, to your surroundings. We're trying to slow those things down so that you're aware before you take action. And then when you feel, oh, it's okay, I can let go of this, then you can take the action. You're not doing it for habit, you're not doing it from anger, from irritation. You're doing it because you're making a conscious choice. So the next time during this meditation you feel an itch or a sense of discomfort, notice it, sit with it, and then when you feel you need to itch or move, see if you can stay another 10 seconds. And then maybe another 10 seconds. And after that, maybe it's gone. Or maybe it's not. And then you reach up and you brush it away. You can do this continuously as you're focusing on your breath. When you're breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. For the last part of the meditation, you can try, if you want to let go of the counting. To let your awareness of your breath relax a little bit. And instead widen your awareness. Try to be aware of your whole body as you're breathing in and out, in and out. And see if you can find fulfillment, a sense of well-being, maybe just calmness when you're sitting there. Don't tense for it, don't even look for it, but just see what happens if you get out of the way, and maybe, just maybe, that is what's going to come up from whatever is there when you are able to get out of the way and just observe as you're breathing in and out, in and out. As usual, you can choose if you want to continue sitting, or it's also okay to open your eyes, have a cup of tea, and ask some questions if you have any. Hey, Mindful Mama, nice to have you here. It's interesting when we start observing these tensions or distortions that we have towards the world around us and inside of us, and we realize that we're controlled by these. This is what makes you behave and act the way you do, whether you like it or not. It's just the built-in or habits that we are raised with by how we've been growing up. And it's difficult to break them because it feels like it's going against our very nature. This is the way it's supposed to be done. And when you're doing it differently, that's disturbing to the sense of self because it wants it to be the way it's used to, the way it's supposed to be. No way that was 30 minutes. No, that was 20 minutes. Oh, wait, did I get it wrong? No, 18, 20, 30. No, that was 20 minutes. Yeah, you got me scared there. I thought about it when I was sitting, like, it's so difficult because it's too short for me to have any time perception. It's easier if it's a little bit longer. But yeah, I'm usually in the middle of it, so I'm not really aware. There are some that, when I was meditating a lot, at some periods, I was really good at knowing, okay, this is 45 minutes, and I would just know. And then that kind of disappeared, and I just sat until I was finished. And that just works really well for me. I see Catherine is saying, what is the purpose of chanting in Buddhism? What are the benefits? That depends on who you ask, Catherine. If you ask me, it's a kind of meditation. It's really monotonous, soothing sounds that are kind of like mantras. And it's a repetitive sound, and then you have the explanation of what the text means, and it's supposed to be holy texture. So if you're Buddhist, then that would be a nice thing to listen to, because you feel, like when we talk about distortion, it gives you a nice distortion because you've heard it since you've been growing up, and every time you go to the temple, you hear these songs in the background, so that when you hear them, that means, oh, this is a peaceful place, this is calmness. Same as when I sit with my legs cross-legged, it always makes me feel calm, because I'm just so ingrained in me that sitting cross-legged means we're calming down. So it's a lot to do with just habit and more like a mantra. If you're a Buddhist, then the chants are actually holy, and there's power in them. There are some, I can't remember their names now, but there are some that are supposed to make you immune to arrows and bullets. Not bullets, actually. They didn't have that long ago, but immune to arrows and to any danger, and then they would keep you safe from wild animals, chanting these songs. So if you believe that, then that would be the benefit. I personally think that's more of a placebo, because if you feel like you're safe, then you will walk and you will radiate that, so that it would be less likely that someone would attack you if you just walked around and felt confident. Let's see, Mindful Mama saying, that last part was a very nice experience for me. I felt myself going from searching for the calmness to pushing myself into just being, to starting to think about it. Oh yes, sorry, we meditated 20 minutes. Been a while. That's okay. Yeah, it really is. The well-being or the fulfillment, this sense of not having a strong centeredness, non-centricness or non-duality, it's not something you can do. It's not that you can just, oh, I want to feel it, and you focus really hard. No, it's more that you kind of forget about everything, and then it just comes up. You just forget that you exist. No, you forget that you're distorting towards things, and the way that you do that is you kind of lull yourself into the nice it's much easier if you've experienced this a few times, because then you know the feeling of it, and then by trying to recall what it was like being like that, you will automatically go into that. That's actually a technique that one uses to experience what's called jhanas, or many meditative states, is that you focus on the qualities of that state. And all it means is that when you go into different jhanas, they have different qualities. You feel a certain way, and by focusing on those, you can actually put yourself in those states. And it's the same with non-centricness, which is kind of like a non-state, because it's not really a state where you're distorting, you're outside of states, and you're just experiencing your senses. And that has a very specific feeling to it, a non-feeling to it. So it's a sense of well-being, of ease, of, it's kind of as if though you've been your whole life having this pressure like this, just everything pushing on you, and you're just being squeezed from every angle, but you've been having that done to you since you were a small child. So you're not aware, what would it be like if I didn't push? But then you all of a sudden go, and it just becomes easy to breathe. All those things that seem so important, they just seem irrelevant, because it's okay just being here. I don't need to have that new car. I don't need to have that thing that I thought was so important, and things will be all right. It's like this pressure just disappears. That's the best way that I can describe it, rather than a sense of just inner ecstasy or anything. That's a state. Just like the pressure of having you, of needing to find your purpose, of needing to figure out what you're supposed to do. All of a sudden it's, well, it doesn't matter, because you're okay just as it is. There's nothing you need to do. And once you've experienced that a few times, you'll recognize that feeling, and you can kind of move towards that. And then you'll feel it. I often describe it when you're out in nature and you're going out and you're taking a hike, and it's a fresh morning and you can hear the birds, and you're just peacefully just walking, and not walking because you want to get somewhere. You're just standing there, just stand still. And there's just this expansiveness, this openness, this freedom. That's what it feels like. And there are many different layers to this, but that's kind of what we're trying to let come out. So you can't do that. You can't force yourself to feel that. Instead, you're relaxing and you're kind of remembering or moving towards that. It's actually a different kind of memory, because memories contain distortions. So it's difficult to explain, is what it is. Let's see, JVB. I sometimes feel that I'm behind in life, especially when I see what others close to me have accomplished. How could I get better at trusting the timing of my life and being patient? I mean, I'm a good example there. I was in sales before I left Sweden, and I was 29, I think, when I left. Or was I 30? No, wait, 2007. I would have been 29, yeah, when I left Sweden to go on my journey. I turned 30 when I was on Sri Lanka. And I was really successful in sales, earned a lot of money, and I went away for 8 years. I was gone. And when I came back, most of my friends had families, houses, they had careers, they had moved up the ladder, and they were actually quite successful, a lot of them. And some people even made companies and sold them and became millionaires and multimillionaires. And I had one friend who sold a company for $100 million that he owned a large stake in. So I was a bit behind, you could say that. And the thing is, when I think about it now, there's a part of me that wants to do something. There's a part of me that wants to achieve and that wants to create. But it's different, because before I felt that, I want to, like you say, I'm behind. I felt like I needed to earn that money, or to get to where they're getting. Now it's more that I enjoy creating. So I enjoy doing this, like what we're doing here. I like that process. I enjoy making videos. I enjoy talking about these things, because it's what I consider the most important thing that I do. So I can enjoy that, but I don't need to move towards something. And I don't have this belief that, okay, if I can just find the right timing and be patient, I will gain success, and then I will be happy. Because that's basically what you're saying. You're saying, I find that feeling you're talking about, feel that I'm behind in life, especially when I see what others close to me have accomplished. how could I get better at trusting the timing of my life and being patient? So what you're saying is you want to trust the timing and have patience, and then you will be rewarded for that. That's like the law of attraction stuff. What I'm saying is it doesn't matter. Like, just it doesn't matter if you get that thing. Instead, just see if you can find enjoyment and peacefulness and happiness in what you're doing now. And the funny thing is that if you do that, usually you become successful. I mean, there are people who seem to struggle like crazy and get success, but I don't think they're very happy. And I can name some very, very famous people who are extremely successful and who a lot of people look up to, who I consider to be just mad people. Like, why on earth would they just be whipping themselves on the back? Why would they have all this conflict? Like, what's the point? Like, why do that to yourself? But I also know others who are really successful who just seem to take it, like they just enjoy what they're doing. And Keanu Reeves is like the prime example of that. He just seems to enjoy being Keanu Reeves. Just a genuine, good, nice guy who likes doing what he does. And he's good at it. But he's not the most successful actor, and he's not the most successful business person, but I think he has enough to live a comfortable life. So I would say that instead of trying to trust the timing and that you need to become successful, see if you can actually let go of the idea that you need to be successful. And then the self will come, well, no, wait. I'm trying to let go of the self and like really have patience so that I can become successful. Because you're still having that me in here that wants to be further. I'm going to let go of the me now, and then in the future I will be rewarded. And I'm basically saying, well, just see if you can let go of all of that and be okay with not being successful. And then when you're okay with not being successful, then you take whatever action you feel you need to do to become successful, because then you're not taking it from neediness or that you believe if I become successful at this, then I will then I will be happy. So it's the same as what I'm doing here. Again, I know that what I'm doing here, there are people who do courses and do retreats and stuff and earn lots of money. And I could feel like, oh, I need to do this so that I can make money. But then I would be doing it for the money. There's nothing wrong to doing things to earn money, but then I would be doing it because I believe that I would be happy when I get the money for what I'm doing now. I'm happy now doing this. I get no one here is paying me. I'm not getting it. I mean, I get YouTube ad revenue. I probably, from this video we're doing now, I'll probably get like 5 cents, maybe. I don't even think I'll get 5 cents. I don't know, 1 cent. Let's say 5 cents or 10 cents. So I'm not doing it thinking, oh, in the future I'm going to get 100 cents. I get $1. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm not doing it because of that. I'm doing it because I enjoy doing this. And if you enjoy doing it, then eventually, many times, not necessarily, but many times, then money will follow. Or it won't. But then you'll be happy anyway, because you wanted to have that money and that success your friends have, because you believe that you'll be happy then. So why wait until you become successful to be happy? Just focus on being happy now. Focus on being content and enjoying life. And then, ironically, it seems that things come to you when you feel that way. I've always found that the best way to manifest is to not try to get anything, but just be really happy and enjoy what you're doing. And then people show up and things happen that seem magical sometimes. Let's see, Mindful Mama. I find that feeling you are talking about of total stillness very difficult to find. Now I have a family. I do try to make time for it during meditation and yoga, but I can't live it like I could before. Do you have any tips? I understand I could slow down more often, push less, and enjoy sitting in the sandbox. There are many factors there. I'm assuming, since you're just saying you have a family also, like, you're not 20. When you're, well, it could be, but when you're younger, then life generally for most people is easier. You don't have the responsibilities, you don't have all these distortion, and you also have an openness towards the future. When you're 20, then you can do anything. You can become the president, you can become CEO of a big company, you can travel the world. It feels like the world is open to you. You can do absolutely anything. But then as you grow older, all of a sudden, like, those opportunities just kind of smaller, and your life becomes more narrow, and you feel pushed in, like, and I can't get out because I'm on this track and I keep moving in that direction, and it seems like there's very little you can do. And that distortion, that friction towards those things around you makes you feel like you're closed in a box. And in a way you are. I mean, when you become older, you don't have as many options as you did. Also, your body gets worse. I mean, I definitely feel that. And then I'm getting older. I'm very likely I've lived half of my lifetime. I'm 46, so yeah, half of my life has passed. In another 46 years, I'll be 92. If I'm lucky to live that long, I mean, that would be amazing. I would consider that incredible if I got to live 46 more years. Now, reality, I'm 46 years old, and my desire is, well, I want to live to be 100. I would love to do that. Like, the thing happening here in between, if they don't match, it's very easy to start a friction like that. It's the same thing with this reality. You're stuck in like these responsibilities you have, and you desire, you want to be free, and so they start pushing against each other. And if you follow this, then you'll start acting out towards the people around you because you feel like they're keeping you stuck in this. Whereas in a way, you've chosen that. Sometimes it's not necessarily that we chose exactly our path, but in a way we have chosen it, and it is how life is. And then you take a choice. You look at this distortion and you think, okay, do I like being where I am? Like, why am I not liking this? And you'll come up with a few things like, I want this to be different, I want that to be different, and yourself is like pushing against this, I want this different. But if you can look at it and let go of that distortion, and then look at the situation, maybe you'll find that actually the situation is not as bad as it seems. Because when you have your kids hanging on you, like asking you to be with them the whole time and just constantly nagging on you, then that's actually a nice thing, because in 10 years or 20 years, they won't be there. They'll have moved out from home. I remember someone saying that you only have 18 summers with your kids, more or less. And then after that, they move away from home. And I thought about, like, oh shit, like my daughter, this is her 5th summer. That means I only have 13 summers left. That's crazy when I think about that. And so that makes me stop and want to actually experience being there with her, even though it is a limitation that I can't do all the things I would want to do. But it could also be that you see that and you think like, oh, you know what? I don't actually like this. I want to change. And then that's why people get divorces. But many times they get divorces and stuff because their self is just like this, and they believe, I need to get out. If they would have actually stopped and looked at this distortion, let go of that, they could see, you know what? I actually do like my situation, and I like the person I am with, but there are certain things that I can't handle that are too much, so we need to do something about that. But then instead of talking about it and being open and trying to find solutions, we spew out anger, we spew out distortion from a place of distortion and like unhappiness, instead of just calming down, seeing where I am, looking at it, and then from that point where you're in a calm place, then that's when you should make choices. You should make choices when you're angry, or when you're upset, or when things aren't working, or when you're hungry. Like, look at the distortion, let go of it, and then take action and make choices from that place. So yeah, you're right. It is more difficult than when you were younger. And when you have a family, it is more difficult because there's a lot more there than just you and your choices and your desires. In fact, when you have kids, whatever you want is kind of last down the list, because in their eyes, like, you're just the tool to get them what they want. You don't really matter in a way to them. I see. Thank you. That is helpful. I love my family, and I'm very happy with them. I meant more that I want to enjoy being with my kids even more from a calm place. But there is often not calm. I see what you mean, and that's kind of, it might not have sounded like I talked about that, but I actually did aim towards that. That when you feel there is not calmness, that's the same thing. That's this narrow thing, like, oh, I don't want it to be like this. Reality, it's a mess. Kids are screaming, kids are crying, kids get hurt. Emergencies, things happening the whole time. That's like reality, and your desire should be calmer. There's nothing wrong with wanting it to be calmer, but reality, it is not. And there's a distortion here, so we let go of that. And then you can still have the desire to ask them to calm down, but instead of yelling at them, they're like, no, you be quiet, and you spew out. You can say, okay, now it's enough. Now Mama's going outside because now you need to watch some TV to calm down, or so that I can calm down. So it's not about not taking action or denying what you're feeling. It's more about really accepting what you're feeling and finding a way to work through it, the distortion that is, and then you take action from there. Yeah, I see. Thanks. It relates back to distortion. I look at it and work with it again. It's like I said in the beginning, I'm so narrow-minded when it comes to what I talk, because I really believe that ultimately it all comes back to distortion. And that's what's so nice with working with what I call the distortion method, is that you don't need to complicate things. I really haven't found anything that can't be solved from the like perspective of distortion. It really, there's like nothing you can really push in there that doesn't work with that. It won't solve all the situations, but it will solve the suffering, which is the main thing here. We're not, I mean, there are other people who work with personal development. They're really good at solving actual problems. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to solve actual problems. I'm trying to solve your misery from the problems. And then when you've gone through that misery and let go of it, then quite often the problems solve themselves. But you can also go the other route, where you go into and you have someone who's really good at solving these physical problems, and they try to solve them through certain techniques. And that's something completely different than what I do here. Even though people always ask me those questions, I always have to veer them and say, like, look, I'm not trying to tell you what is the right answer here. People came to me when I was a monk and asked me for financial advice, like family advice, how I should handle kids. I'm like, I live in celibacy. Why the heck are you asking me how to handle kids? I don't even have kids. Like, I would be the last person you should ask. I can see that they want to have the wisdom of the Buddha, they believe at least, so what he taught. But I mean, I think it's insane in one way that monastics who don't have kids, who live in celibacy, should talk about how to raise kids and how to have good relationships. I actually had one monk one time who was really grumpy, like really grumpy, and there was a woman who asked in a big retreat one time. She asked him, like, I think he had a 5-year-old daughter, and she said, I don't know what to do. She just keeps on hitting me. She's so angry with me. And he basically said, yeah, it's pretty much because you're a bad mother and you don't love your child enough. It's your fault. You should show her more love. So it's nothing to do with the child, and you should just love her more. It's your fault. I was kind of like mind blown. As a parent now, I'm kind of like, yeah, that answer doesn't really help, and it's actually sure that there is a point that everyone wants more love, but that doesn't really solve the problem. If you have a child who's going like through 5 years of age and they're just frustrated with having emotions and not knowing what to do with it, like, yeah, so don't ask monks for help about family or relationships if they don't have it themselves. I mean, they might be able to share some kind of wisdom, but generally you would talk to someone who's actually gone through that themselves. Let's see, JVB, thank you. I'll get better at being grateful for the days I do have and being more present during them. Yeah, that's a start. It really is. Just look at, I tend to not use words like gratitude, because the gratitude is from, oh, I feel this. And that's not what we're aiming for. We're aiming for something wider, more relaxing. Damn, that's a tough one. Yeah, I know. That monk said, I actually went up to, I'm assuming you're talking about the monk and the woman, the lady. I actually went up to her and talked to her afterwards, because she was sitting outside the meditation center crying afterwards. Yeah, I've heard monks say some really dumb stuff, but I've also heard some monks say some incredibly insightful stuff about things that they hadn't done. So I'm not saying no monk can have insight into how to raise kids or how to have a happy relationship. I mean, they obviously have a different perspective that can be useful, but ultimately that's not really their specialty. There are other people who are probably better at that. Yeah. Well, 9 o'clock here. Thank you. As always, I love sitting with you, and it's the highlight of my day. Thank you so much for coming every time, over and over again. I'll start releasing more videos soon, since summer vacation is over. And I wish everyone a happy weekend. No, a happy week. And I'll see you on Thursday. Thank you.